In an ever-evolving digital landscape, for your business to thrive, you must adapt or die. Welcome to Marketing in the Age of AI, the podcast helping you harness the power of AI and marketing tools to revitalize and grow your business. And now here's your host, marketing expert and author of Authentic Marketing in the Age of AI, Emanuel Rose.
Welcome to this episode of Marketing in the Age of AI. I'm Emanuel Rose, and we're going to be digging in today into the nuts and bolts of deployment and training. And the word that I love that Mark's going to use is upskilling. So we're going to be digging into actual boots on the ground, where the rubber meets the road. Joining me today is Mark Andrews. He's the founder of AI Profits, a consultancy he launched in 2025 after training hundreds of enterprise professionals in AI and business transformation. Mark blends over a decade of digital marketing experience with a master's degree of applied data science, focusing on driving efficiency and growth through data-driven strategies and AI literacy with a human-first, data-second mindset. Mark, thanks for taking the time to talk to me today.
Thank you for having me, Emanuel. It's a pleasure to be here.
You know, you're kind of a unicorn in that you're a numbers guy and a marketing guy. So it's always fascinating to meet one of you.
You know, it's interesting coming from the marketing era of the 2010s where you wear many hats. You know, it's sometimes just finding that right hat that fits you best, right?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and you must have a creative side to you, if, or at least a high emotional intelligence to be numbers and marketing.
Yeah, and you know, it's interesting as working in brand world and in digital, you kind of get a smorgasbord of different marketing best practices, if you will. But it's how you combine them all in your own personal way that really makes the magic happen.
Yeah, that's true. So you've got a really strong background in the data side of things, and then the AI pops onto the scene. And how did you first start interacting with, and what tools did you first start interacting with in terms of the AI implementation?
You know, it's very interesting. When I really started learning about AI, I would say it was about 10 years ago when I started doing very hands-on A/B testing on Meta, Facebook at the time, Google Search, and various other platforms. And I started to recognize that those three levers across the audience, the bidding parameters, and how we're reaching people essentially is all based on algorithms and data. So I had this epiphany that, wow, you know, everything we do in marketing is essentially based in data or some type of AI. And I was eager to learn more about it. So then I really started to learn more about how AI could be used across multitudes of different business areas. And I went and got a degree in applied data science, which helped me look at the application of AI, but not just in a technical way, in a more business practical way, if you will.
Nice. Well, and so most recently, you've been helping both executives and businesses start to integrate and deploy tools and processes. And what's that been like for you?
It's interesting. You know, it's abstract in a way. Even after 2 years of having ChatGPT, a lot of businesses and leaders are still starting their journey with AI. So it's we're still early in the curve, and a lot of that just discussion comes to where should we head? You know, what tools should we be using? Where should our goals be aligning with cross sections of the business? How do we really look into AI and bringing it to life? And what I've really found is there's two perspectives of AI. There's the one from leadership. It's how do we invest into AI? What AI is right for our organization, and how should we be thinking about it?
Yeah.
And then there's that bottom up perspective at the managerial level, saying, how do we use AI as a tool day to day?
Yeah. And so when I'm helping people think about this in my installations, I'm saying, hey, there's personal productivity, there's business unit or department productivity, and then there's overall business profitability that we're looking for. How does that match with what you're what you're implementing or thinking about it?
Yeah, it's a great question. And my approach is really approaching each section of data as an iceberg. So if we look at, let's say, media, for instance, I look at that media iceberg in perpetuity. What are the goals of the media organization within a separate enterprise? And are we looking to A, increase the effectiveness of media or efficiency? Now, if you have that goal, whether or not you're working as an analyst or a manager or director, all of our perceptions of using AI should route up to that goal, but should be personalized with how we can use it in a practical way. So whereas, an analyst might be looking at AI as to detect anomalies to help with campaign ideation, the manager might just be looking at that 30,000 foot performance across a series of campaigns. So where they might be looking at AI as a particular means for performance tracking, where the other is looking at it as an executionary tool, if you will.
Yeah, gotcha. How do you approach the idea of data security and keeping private things private? And, that whole process.
Yeah, that's a tricky one. That's one of the areas that I like to stay very binary in. It's a one or a zero. Like we as humans have our own set of tools, right? And we all as marketers love to play with like text to image generation, text to video generation. But when it comes to work, it's a little bit different, right? Because we have to stay secure, we have to stay private with our data, and we have to act in a way responsibly with AI. So it's kind of the area where, if you have that sandbox internally and you have that security built in, it's a great area for using it as a petri dish to come up with use cases, to give people
Right.
this, this tool to run with curiosity, to test and learn. But it's really important that you do that with those constraints because of the IP, because of that, private data, and you don't want to be able to get that outside into the world of the LLMs, if you will.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so we're just trying to do everything behind the firewall, and then if there's some applications that can use a managed resource that we can deploy, also that's a HIPAA compliant, be it almost air gapped server, so you can still have access to it, but not guaranteeing it's not leaking out to the rest of the world.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think it's interesting, right? Because when you're able to internalize your own data, but then supplement it with the web, with other data outside, that's when a lot of those strategies really come to life because you're using your data as a foundation. And that's almost like that individual layer that your organization has that nobody else has.
Yeah, and you start to be able to benchmark in a realistic way, right? And say, hey, we think we're doing pretty good, but are we really doing as well as we could, or are we exceeding what the rest of the industry can do?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, what sort of implementations have you been doing recently, or looking forward to do?
Yeah, it's interesting. A lot of my strategy doesn't necessarily come down to which tool it is. It's really that particular goal. So if it's a particular goal of getting to a certain level of efficiency or effectiveness, that's usually where we start. So say a benchmark of 10 to 20% across a particular process or operation. Now, when you peel back those layers, it's what are we doing and what tools are we using in AI to get to this goal? Is it something that's text to X? Is it something that's executionary? Or is it something that requires some type of creative iteration or some type of unique thinking? So a lot of the times it's personalizing that prompt, that approach, that strategy of AI into that particular goal, but doing so in such a way that's going to get you to that high probability of success. And in some cases, there's creative teams that are just looking to expedite a part of their process with editing,
Yeah.
right? And then that becomes a very particular approach to prescribed tools that they have and formatting and the type of creatives that they're generating. And in other cases, it's just a manual data execution, taking some type of Excel spreadsheet and trying to prepare it for a report. So really what my focus is to try to say, okay, across that 40-hour work week, where do you spend the most amount of time? And where can AI reduce that overhead to help you do it quicker? With that ultimate goal to saying, hey, we all as humans are inundated with data, but if we can save an additional 4 to 6 hours a week, our capacity to then analyze and then grow from that data gives us like this opportunity cost that is almost unknown to the world, right? It's so new, it's so abstract in a way, but it's a real opportunity for people to grow and to continue to develop.
Yeah, and yeah, to free up time, right? Which is the toughest thing that we have, especially because a lot of people aren't just working 40 hours a week, right? It's bleeding over into all parts of their week and private life. Um, well, I think the other interesting distinction is for our world is that we have these automations that we can do that really aren't AI, and then we have actual AI software and the AI agents, and I think a lot of times those all get blended into the same term, right? Same idea.
Yeah, it's very true. It's almost like a gray area, right? There's so many buzzwords, and we in marketing know this better than anyone else. It's a little bit dangerous when people are trusting these buzzwords without really understanding what it means. But at the same time, you can't hold it against people because these tools are such shiny new objects that give us such a new perspective to move away from the status quo. So it's almost a paradigm shift that's, to your point, so focused on human behavior that as humans, it's almost abstract for us to see everything differently, coming from years and in some cases decades of operating in one way.
Yeah.
But it's almost similar to that boom of the app boom from the iPhone era of the late 2000s, early 2010s, was we're given this device and it has this new means of searching for information, executing information, doing tasks. And it takes time for us to catch up and understand how it can be used in our lives. But I have realized that I'm quite early to this particular play because when I built this business, part of my focus was okay, AI agents are a huge buzzword. A lot of these executionary AI tools that are moving from sequence or task to task are going to be super viable for businesses moving forward.
Yeah.
But in totality, what does that mean in the day to day? And are people actually building them out today? So, what I've started to realize, Emmanuel, is that 90% of the folks I work with, the organizations I work with, are brand new to AI. They've just gotten all these tools. They've gotten hundreds of licenses of Copilot, or they're giving out all these new chainsaws, and they're holding them, wondering, how do I chop down more of my forest?
Right.
And my approach isn't necessarily to say, hey, here's how the chain works, here's how the engine works, here's how the oil works. It's to give them an overview of that, but to show them how it can be used and to train them on how to use that in a successful way. So it's a different approach than what you see as like off the shelf AI training and learning, or some type of self-paced learning. It's very different. And I make like this joke to some of my clients, like, when you learned to use a chainsaw, did you watch a YouTube video or did someone show you how to use it? There's a
Right.
very different approach with a tool so powerful.
That's true. Yeah, and I guess it depends how old you are, whether you learned how to do it by a YouTube video or not, right?
Yeah, it's true.
Well, talk to me a little bit about some of the client work that you're doing. You don't have to name any names if you don't want to, but just what those either trainings or installations look like.
Absolutely. So when you think about data as an iceberg, and this is really how I've built out my service and approach, is we all start at the surface of the top, right? We're looking down into the data, but we can't quite see at the bottom. It might not be as transparent as we want to see it, but those people at the bottom working in the warehouse see it day to day. So it's about refining those perspectives and approaching those services in such a way that's focusing on growth. So data as a tool, the AI 101, responsible AI and covering our organization. How do we approach AI and how do we look into problem solving with AI? But when I get to that point, a lot of it comes down to human behavior and looking at day-to-day tasks and practical usage. So the AI 101 is really saying, okay, here's the low-hanging fruit: communications, meetings, content, management, and managing people. Here are some of the low-hanging use cases that AI can benefit everyone, if you will. Now, as you go deeper down, you're going to start going through those analysts who are working with the data day to day. Now, that approach is a little bit more in depth. A lot of those folks have been using AI or are a little bit more, I guess, privy to the tool or the idea over the years. So their approach is a little bit more prescriptive around what type of data are you using to do and create decisions off of? How do we create a means to be more proactive with AI? Is there a way to detect anomalies and to identify trends and patterns where you as a human are unable to do so in that day to day? So as we go deeper into the iceberg, it's more so those day-to-day uses and actually looking at to how can we attach or use AI to track the data and help us create alerts or instances of understanding the data further. And the ultimate goal is to eventually pull a lever, right? Like we want that alert and AI to help us pull a lever to improve our business. Without understanding that lever, it can feel impossible.
Right.
So as you go deeper, those levers start to change. And it goes from management into day-to-day operations, into anomaly detection, into kind of this complete change of data strategy. And then when we get to the very bottom, we're almost looking at predictive analytics modeling, really into that data science literacy and those more, I guess, advanced data science topics. But by training and learning and building out that type of approach, what I've found is the most powerful thing is this idea of systemic learning. If you can get a whole entire organization to think like an engineer and to think about which type of data actually leads to which type of outcomes, you can start to pull apart this reactive data strategy and create a proactive data culture of people who are constantly digging into the data as opposed to just reacting when something happens. So as I've gone through this process, it's not just AI 101. It's not just AI tools. It's like data science, data analytics, data warehousing, and systemic literacy front to end. And it's
Man.
really like helping someone understand what's happening at the bottom of that iceberg as they're looking down. And the goal is to reduce that, is to improve that clarity throughout and to offer everyone that perspective using the same data or the same process in perpetuity. Because when you start to mix different processes and systems and data sets and operations, that's when it starts to get a little messy.
Sure. Yeah. Well, and then you're triggering me too is that we're actually going to do this first phase, right, where we have these data processes and we get alerts and these things, and then eventually we're going to build the agents who will actually take action from those alerts as programmed by the people that are holding that role, right? Instead of me saying, "Oh my God, we're selling out of all size 14s. I got to order more." The bot will do that work because I've programmed it to do that.
Exactly. And it's what I like to do is I don't actually want to create agents for people. I want to help them train their people to then create and manage those agents because that's where that power of data clarity comes in and helps them better manage it over time.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Do you think there's a retail level product right now that people could be trained in that would build agents?
You know, one of the two products that I use right now are Zapier and N8N. I
Yeah,
think as marketing professionals looking at the sequence of events, it's a really good and easy way to show how agents work and how they can be customized across that flow. And it's really like that foundation of a data science decision tree, right? Because that's
yeah,
really what it is at the end of the day.
love it. Yeah, I think for however that's working across the world is what I'm seeing is that Zap, Make.com, and N8N are the current tech stack for marketing professionals and for a lot of other professionals, but that's the current tech stack.
Yeah, it's pretty ironclad.
And there's enough resources that somebody with some tech interest can figure it out and start to do simple things like connect Otter to the calendar to email, for instance. Like that's a very simple three-step agent that just about anybody could produce for themselves.
Oh, absolutely. And if I go back 10 years when I was doing this on Salesforce at the agency, it was like 1,000 times more difficult.
Right. Yeah. Well, what do you see for yourself in the next 12 months? What's on the horizon for you in terms of how your group is going to work and develop, and how your client work is going to change?
It's 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 I'm in this growth phase right now where I'm having so many discussions and I'm starting to work with so many different people that I'm realizing that we're still so early to this game. And, you know, while I might be at times stuck in that little bubble in LinkedIn, you sometimes get a little bit lost in other professionals in your space and actually understanding where the status quo is, where like the normal humans are within that trajectory.
Yeah.
So, so sometimes when I'm like looking into the other influencers and the other people in the AI space, I'm constantly overwhelmed with the fast-paced atmosphere of shiny new objects every week. But
Yeah.
then when I actually work with people, I'm grounded in the reality that this is still so new and we are still so early. And that's where I want to continue driving this. Is usually when I find a team who has these tools and has that opportunity, it's such an easy conversation to focus on human first AI, right? No new tools, no new tech, no new data. Let's really just change the behaviors of our people. And that's what I'm most excited about. The amount of students, professors that have reached out to me and that I've started to work with, who are just looking to learn of how they can improve teaching their students, how they can think about analytics and AI in a more advanced way. It's awesome for me to bring in all this corporate experience and Fortune 500 experience to them to be able to bridge that gap. So, where I really created this as a business with the goal of helping humans, where I've really started to understand is how satisfying it is to actually help people, to actually take a team who's stuck in a process and to actually help them find and unlock 4 more hours per their week. And then it's the next step of saying, hey, if you just save that time, here's how you can reinvest it. Here's how you think about growing. Here's how some tools and techniques with looking into the data when you're ready for that next stage of analytics. And I think it's the sequence of events with how we as humans can grow and how we can learn, but then how I can help build and customize particular personalized learning solutions based on their business. And that's really where I think it's a lot of fun. So for instance, I was working with a media team, really focusing on like that Zapier chat GPT focus to create different types of themes for content. And
Right.
that theme was really to help expedite that QA process for campaign activation. It's not terribly sexy, it's not terribly complex, but the amount of time that that could save is astronomical for some teams, especially agencies who are heavy on that executionary stage.
Right.
So that's where I really love finding is those like really refined solutions that really particular teams are working in, and just helping align those humans to the tools that they have on their desk.
Yeah, and like you're saying, it's not the latest version of Claude that you need to be able to implement. It's just getting ChatGPT in any of its form connected up with a small custom GPT inside a chat, right? And say this is what we used to do in the past that's been approved. This is the trend book that we built, and now develop 15 themes for me going forward, right? Like those types of simple activities.
Yeah, absolutely. Or if it's just like, when you think of marketing on the brand side, or you think of that daily reporting, weekly reporting, hey, if there's teams that are doing weekly reporting, let's try to cut down that time it takes for you to prepare those reports and expedite those charts directly from the graphs itself.
Yeah.
It's sometimes just a small rewiring of human behavior that really can I guess make or break AI in an organization.
Yeah, interesting. Well, what do you think about deployment time kind of for this bubble to be wrapped up? Do you think we're on a 5-year curve? You think we're on a 3-year curve? What's your prognostication?
I was originally thinking a 5-year curve. I thought I would create this business and I thought everyone would be trained by AI by 2030.
Yeah.
Now that I'm like 3 months in and have trained a lot of people, I'm realizing that that's looking like 2032. So
Okay, you've revised the numbers.
yeah, I've revised it a little bit. I think a lot of business owners who are really focused on agents as well are also starting to realize this a little bit. It's a crawl, walk, run with humans, and
Yeah.
it's definitely not as fast paced as we had anticipated.
Yeah, that's interesting. Well, there's a lot of already existing concerns, right? And there's a lot of market forces in this time period that we're also dealing with. So it's not like everybody's just got like an extra 15% of their gross revenues to just throw at this right now, right?
Yeah, it's true. And it's funny too when you see publicly, you see some of the organizations playing in AI with creatives, right? Like I saw Tiffany had an AI ad. I know McAfee has some AI ads.
Yeah.
So you're starting to see those bleed into the market a bit. And I think that there's a lot of organizations that are starting to test and learn if their consumers are receptive to AI ads or not, which is a dangerous game in itself as well.
Yeah, that's a second conversation, Mark. I'd like to have that with you, though. I'd like to talk about that. with you about the adoption and the reception, because I have some opinions about the reception, and I think we're a lot more liable to accept these AI generated images than a lot of people think, and that's going to be an impact on the creatives that we work with in a day-to-day basis. So,
Absolutely.
Well, Mark, I love the conversation. I appreciate your time. If people want to get together and have a conversation with you directly, how do they do that?
So they could reach out to me on LinkedIn, or you could come to my website. My LinkedIn profile is Mark William Andrews, and then my website is aiprofits.com. And I'm happy to help anyone and have any discussion around AI. It's truthfully a passion project for me.
All right. Well, I know you're going to be doing good work, and I'm going to have you on again at some point so we can have a conversation about what's changed in the interim.
Well, thank you, Emanuel. It was a pleasure to be on the show, and I can't wait to be back.
All right. Thanks. Well, it's an interesting perspective. The human first. Let's look at our processes and where we're spending the most time, and then find a simple solution. Could even just be Zapier and ChatGPT. It doesn't have to be the shiniest, newest object that's made its way into the marketplace. So I hope that you take some time today to look at your processes and to find a couple of tools, 1 or 2 tools that you can test and get 3, 4, 5, 6 hours back in your week, and that you use that time to either better yourself as a professional, spend it with your friends or family, or get outside and take a walk and feel the sunshine and get some fresh air. It's Emanuel Rose, Marketing in the Age of AI. Talk to you again real soon.
Thanks for listening to Marketing in the Age of AI. Be sure to subscribe wherever you heard this podcast so you never miss a future episode. Your copy of Authentic Marketing in the Age of AI is available at Amazon.com or EmanuelRose.com. You can also connect with Emanuel on LinkedIn. Thanks again for listening, and we'll see you next time.